All right, back at it. New guy, same place, athlete builder. I'm Jim. Luke my guy. He's on location outside, just enjoying life. I'm in the library, and we got Nick Wortham out of St. Louis today. A little bit about Nick, and we're going to get into a lot more about him in a second, but just a big, strong dude who's quite capable. Comes to us yet again from our guy, 𝗟𝗲𝗀𝗀. Turns out Chad's his coach. Chad's been a friend to me and us and my gym and this podcast for years. If anything about Chad, he just says, be a good person. Be a good person and work hard. And he continues to spread the wealth and just trying to connect people, make people better. So luckily we got Nick on today. Nick's strong as fuck. Took third at North American Championships for Strongman. And not just a pretty face, can move some weight as well. And one of the reasons we have him on today with Athlete Builder and what Lucas and I are trying to do here is, one is inspire folks to keep working hard towards their goals, educate them on how to do that, and then ultimately we have a system and process for building people mentally and physically. All that doesn't get someone to a high level quickly. And Nick is a testament to someone that has achieved a high level of success, but not quickly. So we want to hear about his grind, his struggle, his grit, and how he's built himself. And for those that don't know, Strongman, having been a state chair and having participated in the sport, when I think about Strongman or I explain to someone else is that we pick up really stupid stuff that's heavy and try to move it as quickly as possible, and that's it. It could be completely ridiculous, like an engine block of a car, or just putting something enormous on my back and carrying it like an idiot. And that was absolutely fun for me. And we have a really outstanding athlete and up-and-comer in the sport, Nick, on today. Nick, welcome to the show. Thanks for being on.
How's it going? I appreciate you having me on.
Good to have you. Just so the audience has some kind of context. Squat, bench, deadlift, all-time best for you, roughly.
Squat. It's hard because you don't really max things out in the
Sure.
gym, but squat somewhere in the low 800s. Bench around the 500 mark.
Okay.
Deadlift. I've pulled 820 for three on an axle, so it's really like a stiff bar, but
Sure.
yeah, somewhere around the 858 number.
A military or strict overhead press.
Somewhere in the low 300s.
So now we get into the fun stuff. Farmer's carry. Like what's for a short distance, 50 feet or 75 feet, like what's a good number for you?
So unfortunately, my grip is pretty ass.
Okay.
So I've got my hands they're wide, but they're not. My fingers aren't very long. I've done 380 a hand before for like 25 feet, which relatively speaking, is a good thing. But in the realm of pro strongman, it's not the best. So it's typically just try to hold on as much as I can.
I always tell people you have to outrun your grip. And
Yeah, very much so.
I'm 6'3", but I have the hands of someone that's like 5'7". My dad didn't help me out there.
Yeah.
And I competed, but as a master athlete, I'm doing it for fun. It's just for me. I was 305 a hand, and I was
hmm
about to shit myself. My eyes were falling out of my face. I've seen you put 1,000 pounds on your back and carry it in a yoke carry. Uh, Circus dumbbell. That's probably one of the most technical movements where it's just a big, stupid dumbbell you'd see in a circus. What's a, what's a good number for you there?
Actually, last Wednesday is my first time on it since over a year because we had it in 2024 North Americas. And I hit 260 on Wednesday. I truly think that I could hit somewhere close to the 300-pound mark if I had a reason to push for it.
That's just a gross number. Like, oh man. Probably one of my favorite events all time. Back squats one, and 1A is this next one. I love Atlas stones because back in the day, picking up a natural stone would say that you are a man. You go in your clan, the Wortham clan. If you could pick up the manhood stone for your clan, you then reached it. So I think I saw a video. Was it 500 or 505 on a Atlas
Yeah, I loaded a 506.
506?
Yeah.
Yee.
Yeah, I honestly agree with you though. Actually, I'm doing a contest here in a couple weeks for Strongman Champions League, and they asked like for our athlete bio because they're making like trading cards,
Sure.
what our favorite event is, and I put stones on there because I kind of agree. It's like I think that's the spirit of the sport. You know, it's like one of my buddies that I compete with in North America. As I always tell, he beat me last year, but I always tell him that I beat him on the stone. So really, as far as strongman goes, I won.
That's the most basic element of the sport. No one came up with circus dumbbell centuries ago, right?
Right.
It used to just be, hey, this is a big rock, can you move it? And that's
Yeah.
why it's probably my favorite because of the history. If you watch Rogue's documentaries, they're outstanding on the topic alone. I
Hmm.
have the Hoosier stones, the manhood stones for the state of Indiana, and if you pick them up, you get your name in a leather bound book, just like you do over in Europe. We talk about your background. I sign it. I offer you a shot of bourbon, and your name's there forever. Talk about then, Nick, your start in building some strength at a younger age, and then
Well,
and then why are you now committed to picking up stupid shit for contests, which I think is absolutely fun.
well, if you don't mind me asking, where in Indiana are those stones at?
Okay, so I'm on the west side of Indianapolis. So you get to the capital on the west side in Plainfield, one exit over. There's five stones. They're all farmed from the state. The red stone is there's a reddish stone that's called the cardinal because the state bird's a cardinal. We're the crossroads state, so there's a stone that has two different textures to it. So it's a crossroads stone. The Brian Tinsman stone is named after two strongman athletes that picked it up on the day that I launched it. It's 408. And I love Atlas stones because they're so raw, but the natural stones, there's more of an artwork involved too. You can't just be strong because depending on the day, like you go to Iceland to pick up the 𝗦𝗲𝗶𝗹, and if it's snowing that day or if it's raining and wet, it's too fucking bad. You still got to figure out how to pick it up. So
Well, I
there's
also think natural stones too. They add like Atlas stones. You can rely on tacky, but too, if you
yep,
don't have tacky, I think you can get injured very easily.
sure.
I've seen it multiple times. Guys lose biceps or whatever. Natural stones, with you can kind of grip it. Then it turns into are you strong enough or are you not? There's less of an excuse factor of it's slippery.
True, true, yeah. And so some of them we have great handholds and there's nice sharp edges,
Right.
but it's also one that's textured but pretty round. And then people are like, "Oh man, there's no sharp edges here. This one sucks." I go, "Yes,"
Yeah.
and that's what makes it kind of fun. So there's some
I'm
artwork.
going to Kokomo in like 2 weeks
Oh
for
shoot,
for a Chaz contest.
yeah. So Chad's based out of there with he used to have CrossFit 𝗀𝗃, and then
Yeah.
Andrew Domes took over the gym, and so Burl he's a CrossFit athlete and a coach, but very very strong, can do the strongman
Yeah.
stuff. So Chad's Chad's original gym there is outstanding. I called him today because I had you on the show, and I go, "Tell me one thing," because
Yeah.
Chad's an older guy in the sport,
Yeah.
still super strong and an awesome coach. He said that he competed back in the day with your father.
Yeah. So that kind of piggybacks into what you wanted me to get into talking about. Just with my journey of strength, I can kind of tie it into that. So, growing up, my dad competed in strongman my whole childhood. I mean, from as young as I can remember, like I used to, the going joke is like I would like lay on the deadlift platform and play with my toys and stuff while they're all lifting, and
Mm,
been around it my absolute whole life. And what's so funny to me because like I'm a commercial electrician, so blue collar guys, they're always kind of like they'll ask more questions kind of about strength and stuff because most of the time they were football players, they were these guys that lifted whatever, they care a little bit more. But it's so funny whenever I like start to describe what a lot of them know what strawman is, but somebody that doesn't, if I start to describe it, it's like I realize I sound kind of fucking stupid. I'm like just describing this thing that's been my whole life,
right.
and it's like I realize I like take a step back and think what these people are just hearing me say, and it's like I might as well have told them that I lift in the circus, you know?
That was the original idea.
Right.
Let's bring in a strong dude, the
Yeah.
Sears of the world, right?
Yeah.
And see if they can pick up something heavy, and people will come to the circus to see that event, and
Right.
because they would say it's not a contest, it's a show,
Yeah.
and that's the name of the event. It's a show. You're entertaining
Right.
the crowd, so it's not just like OSG. They put on a great show there. The events are great for the crowd. They're eye pleasing.
Right.
No one's going to really show up and say, "Hey, man, let's see you rip three decks of cards, in half."
Yeah.
But that was still used to be one of the things. So you're right. Like back in the day, it was just can you entertain people?
But even then, like at a young age, there was multiple people that I was just grew up around that I didn't even realize, how crazy these guys were at the time because they were just guys I was around all the time. Like Willie Wessels is a great example.
Yep.
I mean, he was legitimately strong as fuck, and it was like just like he was. Everybody in the world knows who Willie Wessels is, and it's like he's just the guy that my dad trained with.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
My dad competed against Brian Shaw in 2006, I think. Obviously that's before he was who he came to be. But it's like you see these old photos, and you're like these people that you're around, and like Clint Darden is a great example. If you know who Clint Darden
I do.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, Clint
Great.
is
Great
known all
story
around the
too.
world. Yeah, he's known all around the world and has helped numerous world's strongest man athletes and all this stuff. And it's like his. I mean, I have a memory of being really young, and his wife woke me up in the middle of the night because she was playing Grand Theft Auto on my PlayStation 2 in my bedroom floor, cussing at the TV in a language I didn't know.
You know, Clint, who's strong, been around forever. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't he battle an illness as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So even with that, I mean, if you ever meet him, he never leads with that. He's always in a
No.
great mood. He's
Yeah.
always, helping other folks.
Yeah.
A true giver to the sport.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like the general level of strength that I've grown up around, I think also kind of like it's the same way I think records keep getting broken over and over again because people see what's possible. So I'm around guys like there's this actually Clint posts this video all the time where there was a training weekend where they all came down and the gym was called Eagle Gym in St. Louis, and that's where they all trained out of. And one of the guys, his name's Rob, he's passed away now, but he totaled 2,200 pounds squat, bench, deadlift that
Yep.
weekend, that day, just a training day.
That's
And
it.
this was 2004 or something. It's like it's crazy. And it's like stuff that's just normal that you see.
That 2,200 total puts him in a fractional percentage of the planet. You know, 2% of people play D1 sports, 7% play in college, a small fraction play in the pros. That's what a 2,200 total at a
Right.
regular training day is like. How about the fact that it's normalized for you and your family to say, hey, you know what? I want to be strong. I want to work out even. In today's day and age, a lot of families aren't about that life. They aren't about, being strong. They're not even about working out anymore, right? And now it's just normalized that if you have a kid, like we have in my own gym, a lot of the parents, they're just soccer moms and soccer dads trying to be healthy, but their kid's sitting over there in a stroller or the kid's sitting over there in a playpen, and they just see, hey, you know what? Part of our day is that we work out and we train, and that just becomes part of their identity. It's nurtured into them, so now they're better for it. And now your whole family is going to be stronger mentally and physically because the parents led that for them.
Well, that's like that was kind of in the era of whenever squat suits and stuff like that kind of started to come out. So obviously that wasn't a raw total. I mean, nobody lifted raw at that point.
Sure.
But like you said about growing up, I mean, even my mom benched 408 in a single ply shirt.
Shit.
Um, so it's like and that was kind of after my dad's career. It was kind of like while he was competing, she didn't really do too much, and then whenever he stopped, she started. Just because we were young and whatever. And it's you talk about like people wanting to work out, and strongman is definitely not healthy I think at an amateur level. I think it is, but you get to a professional level, and it's the same thing. Not comparing strongman athletes to NFL athletes. There is a lot of crossover there. But the second strongman starts paying real money, we're all out of a job because the real athletes are going to come. But it's as much as guys want to say, there's nobody in strongman that was their first dream. Typically it's the guy that was cut, or it was the guy.
Sure.
Not to say that they still wouldn't be good, but they're the real freaks are in the NFL, they're in the NBA, they're stuff like that. But it's the same principle, with those guys where on a third party view, they're just exercising. Okay, well, no, they have to wrap up every joint they have just to play,
Yep.
but it's like, in theory, it's a healthy thing, but it's not a healthy thing whenever you push the limits. Could be healthier than sitting on the couch and eating potato chips, sure.
Sure.
Um,
You
but
know,
it's like it was an addiction. I feel like growing up, I've always had an addiction to being stronger than everybody else.
that's not a bad thing. And to your point about being healthy or unhealthy, I was 45 years old and I weighed 319. Like 319 is not a healthy weight. Even if I'm, even if I'm, on a relative basis. Like against the rest of the country, I'm unbelievable. I was unbelievably strong in the strongman world. I was maybe middle of the bell curve. But 319 pounds isn't great for my body fat, isn't great for my heart, isn't great for, my joints. So when you start doing things now, if you're like even Luke was a college athlete running into people full speed ahead because he's running back. That's not going to be healthy. Like you could be healthy and well rounded, an average CrossFitter or an
Yeah.
average gym goer. But once you start competing college and beyond, it's
Hmm.
about performance and it's about that win. And Luke can even talk to that. Like, it's not about like, hey man, I don't feel so well today. My head kind of hurts from the concussion in practice. Too fucking bad. You're hitting the hole, right? And putting 1,000 pounds on your back is not healthy. But you're trying to win. So you got a window to move forward and try to accomplish your goals and tasks and do as best you can. Talk about having to make peace with, hey man, this is a taxing on me and my family, but this is what we're gonna do for X number of years.
Well, I mean, number one, to piggyback off what you said, I've been over 300 pounds since I was 16 years old, I think.
Okay.
16, maybe 17. I think going into my junior year of football, I actually, they weighed us every year and I was 299. And the joke my head coach would always make is once you see a three on the scale, it never goes away. So I was 299 and they wrote down 300. That was the joke because he's like, oh, that's close enough.
Close enough. We'll
And then
call
I
it.
think, I mean, senior year, I think I was 315 and it just kept growing from there. And last year, I got up to like 375. I'm down to about 350, 355 now. Kind of, you swell up a little bit towards competition, get a little bit bigger. Um, but it's just, yeah, dude, it's kind of a necessary evil, to just, and again, because I've been heavy my whole life, I don't really necessarily know what it feels like to not be heavy. That's what I always tell people. I wish I could just be like 220 for like a day and just see what it feels like. So in a way, it's kind of a blessing because I don't know what I'm missing out on.
Sure.
But I'm 26, so luckily I'm a little
Young.
younger, so I don't really haven't had as many of the injuries that some of these guys have had years to stack up,
Sure.
But last year at North Americas, I tore my labrum in my hip,
Mm.
um, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much you know about labrums and whatever, but I mean, you can get it surgically repaired,
Yep.
but it's probably just going to happen again. You can get injections and whatever for pain, but so I've never gotten it fixed. And actually, I think my other one is working on a tear as well. I get the same feelings in it, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like it's going to be what it's going to be. It's like I'm not gonna get a surgery that I know probably won't work or take me out for a certain amount of time. Where is the juice worth the squeeze on that? Probably not. But there's all kinds of stuff, that like you get pick up little injuries. I think I see more of it from the guys I look up to in the sport, that I have had the honor of competing with, where we're showing up to a major show and they're putting duct tape on their knees before we start,
Right.
and it's just like, well, what are you going to do? It's like it's time, it's like
Right.
you're either go or you don't, and you don't get to that level with having that voice in your head that tells you that you can't go.
There's a book I reference all the time. The title is "It Takes What It Takes,"
Right.
and it really does. It's there's a point where you can say this isn't for me anymore, and that's cool. I
Hmm.
like you just how you are, but it's not going to be cool for you. And you know, when I would run contests, it's like the minor leagues. There's different levels. A lower level contest, and then regionals, and then maybe a national event at USS or Strongman Core, and then you make it to the Arnold or another national event. So the people at my contest were always uh, beginner to intermediate folks, and I would talk to them, and they could be younger folks like 26, like yourself, or older guys too. And they're talking to me about all the gear they're running, all the steroids they're running, and I'm like, man, you're not gonna win my contest.
Yeah.
Like you're not, and you've been here for 3 or 4 years. Like I know you're doing this for fun. Like you're not trying to advance. Like you're 40 years old. Like so why? Explain it to me. Why are we doing it? Because if you win, you're gonna get a trophy that's about 7 inches, and it's gonna look cool and all, but right? So
And that's the thing of the sport that's it's never really talked about because I mean number one it's illegal so you don't no guys aren't just going to openly talk about what they do. But the point you make stands of if you can't win a local show, if you can't get a pro card, without punching that ticket,
Right.
then we're like, and maybe that's your end goal and you're fine with that. But you know, there's a time and place for everything, and if you need to play that card just to get in the game, you're probably never going to win.
Right. 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 I know. I tell like, the patient piece. Strength takes a long time to build, and it
Hmm.
does build, year after year. So luckily, it takes a long time to lose. And when I tell these folks, I'm like, hey man, you're at this level. You start taking gear, and you're gonna shoot up to a higher level. That doesn't mean that your ligaments and tendons shot up with you. And then next thing you know, you see a lot of tears, not in their muscles typically, but their bicep tendons or things like that. I'm like, you got to do a lot of other little things because it's still the process. It still takes time. How many years have you been lifting heavy, Nick, where you're trying to add big numbers? Like you said, you were 16 years old and 300 pounds.
Yeah.
My guess, like when did you start lifting? When you're like 8 years old?
Yeah, so I mean, there's videos of my dad would lay bumper plates, against the stone platform, and I'm doing stone runs with bumper plates. Or they had a log made out of aluminum, so it was
Oh,
light enough that I could do log press. And there's videos of me doing front squats and all kinds of stuff, in the gym and flipping tires and whatever. But it's I don't know, it's kind of a funny thing, it's like whenever you're that young, you don't really know why you're doing what you're doing, and whenever you're like when I was in high school, it's like you just lift because everybody lifts,
yeah,
and it's like I didn't know that I was wanted to work towards anything yet at that point. I
sure.
remember actually me and my one time I loved my high school head football coach is a great man. He taught me a lot, but I remember I think I was a sophomore and I was probably 270 at this point, 275, and you know pretty fat. I mean, like definitely way too fat, and it's like he pulls me into this side room and he's basically like, "Hey man, like what the fuck? Like you're gaining too much weight. You're too big, and it's like in my head, it's like I knew the whole time. I was like, he just doesn't see it. It's like unfortunately, like the way generations work is like back whenever my dad was competing heavy in the early 2000s. There wasn't much science involved. It was kind of you eat as much as you can whenever you can. So
Right.
that was kind of instilled in me too at a young age, which probably wasn't very good. But it also, at to a certain level, I think being that heavy that young definitely helped my ligaments and my joints. And it's like I'm prepared to be heavy. At a young age, whenever your body is still growing and adapting, I was already heavy. Not advice for anybody to go out there and just be heavy when they're young because it's not healthy. But I think that there is something to that. And it's like in high school, I think when I was 18, I squatted 600 for the first time. And so, I mean, I've been squatting at least 600 pounds for 8 years. And it's like to me, it seems like that's not like a long time, I guess, because it doesn't, whenever you think back 8 years ago, you're like, oh my God, that felt like yesterday. But it's like those are the kind of building blocks you need to stack to be able to squat 800 pounds,
If you're 270 pounds, getting off the toilet or a chair at dinner, just standing up and doing a natural squat is a lot more work than someone who's 150 pounds, right? So
Right.
you're already building some leg strength just walking around, walking up and down the stairs at
And
school.
again, to anybody listening, this is not advice to make your kids
Right.
270 pounds in
No,
high
I get
school.
it.
But and like we talking about, the amateur level of strongman or nationals or whatever. So many of these guys think that what separates them from the top guys in the sport is drugs, and they could not be more wrong. Because if you took everything out and it wasn't even a thing, it wasn't possible, the guys at the top would still be at the top. Maybe there'd be one guy that wouldn't be there, and it'd be change them out for somebody else. But I've met a whole lot more guys that that take years off their life for a nationals event that'll never make it to anything than guys that you'd be very surprised, or they're completely natural at the top level that you
Sure.
would never believe them unless you were friends with them.
One of the tenets of what we do here with Athlete Builders, I tell people, is that it takes so much more than what people think. It's not just the training. Can you
Mm-hmm.
surround yourself with the right coach and the right people? Can you eat correctly? What is your hydration like? What is your food like? And if you listen to any interview back in the day of Brian Shaw talking about an event or how he would, like even at the Arnold in a deadlift, head to head competition, he's picking he's mathematically, surgically picking the weights so he's doing the least amount of work and so he can win by 5 pounds or whatever. He puts so much thought into his preparation. It's not just, well, you know what, I'm just gonna juice up and go, right? It's so much more to it. Just like any other high level athlete, it's being diligent and disciplined in all those other areas that separates the winners to the with the wannabes.
And that's something too about the dedication. I mean, I've been seriously competing in strongman since 2021, maybe. So it's been about 5 years of. I mean, I swear I have not missed a training day in 5 years at least. 4 days a week. Whether it's Christmas, my birthday, somebody died, it doesn't matter. It's you got to train. I mean, it's like 3 hours of your day. You'll lay on the couch for 3 hours and look at your phone. If you can't go to the gym, your priorities aren't where they need to be.
There's an interview with Michael Phelps, and he takes in the same amount of calories as Brian Shaw at their highest level,
Hmm.
14,000. And he talked about for 5 years he trained 7 days a week, 5 straight years, just 7 days. Like it's weddings. It's I'm going to eat this much food and I'm going to train, and no one wants to do that. And by no one, it's fractions of a percent. And those at the top want to do those things, and not everyone's like that, and that's okay. You just got to know who you are, and then realize that this is what it takes to get to that level.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, again, the unfortunate reality is if everybody was like that, the top level would probably look a little different because there's how many people do you think there are out there that are, genetically, physically capable of greatness, but they never even come close to tapping into it.
Sure. Yeah, it's that willingness to do all the things,
Hmm.
and most people don't. Me
Right.
included. Like I could do a lot of things better. And it's like, do I really want to get up and do that? Do I really want to? Do I sit there and want to make 10 more calls? Do I want to do
Yeah.
all these things? So why do you love the sport, Nick?
I think a lot of it is nostalgia. That's like I was talking to you before we started recording about my addiction to buying gym equipment, or I should say strongman equipment.
Right?
Everything I own is old. It's something that I saw as a kid. I have a video of somebody I know using it. I have a video of my dad using it at a contest. That's what makes me want it. Because I think there's not enough people in strongman today that really value the history of the sport because it's became larger and there's more social media and everybody just wants to be like the guy last year. They just
Hmm.
see the now.
Sure.
And I think I have a very, very strong respect for the history of the sport. Like even like the power stairs I bought were originally 𝗟𝗶𝗃𝗀's. So something like that's cool to me where it's, he's my coach and he's like a second dad to me, at this point, as much as we've been around each other and how often we talk. And, uh, having stuff like that, I think also it reminds you where you come from and know that you're a long way from where you want to be. And it gives you history of knowing like, okay, on this implement, this guy did this at this year. Like
Right.
there's a picture of louis-philippe-Jean, if you know who that is or not. He's Canadian pro strongman,
Hmm.
with him holding a 525-pound power stair with one hand, just standing there with it between his legs.
Gross.
And it's like I've got power stair implements that mimic that completely, and I am nowhere close to being able to do that. So
Right.
it's like
I
seeing
don't,
stuff like that. I think it kind of puts it in perspective and kind of give you guys the chase that maybe you don't even know you exist.
I don't know if you come across Albert Brand. He's out of Minnesota now.
Yeah, I
He
know the name.
he started well, he's been strong for a long time, but we started doing strongman. It was in my gym, and then he moved. And so if you come across him, he has my power stairs. He has
Okay.
my Hercules hold.
Hmm.
And to your point, like when people come to my contest, they would see these old deep dish York plates,
Hmm.
and people are like, "Man, how'd you get those?" I'm like, "I was in an antique store. People were selling them for 50 cents in a pound," and I was like, "Oh, that's so silly." So I'm walking out. I'm on vacation in North Carolina, and my wife is like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Dude, these are Yorks. Like, this where they started making plates. Like, this is the deal." And she's like, "All right, so we're gonna drag home 100 pounds of plates, or they're 100." She's like, "Yeah, we're dragging them home. That's okay." Yep. I saw also when you talk about one of the things I asked you about teammates, like what's your pillars of success? You talk about having great teammates. I saw you trained over at Elite FTS.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to find a better crew or knowledge of lifters than Dave Tate. and the people he's around. Talk about what it was like training there and things you picked up or nuances or things lessons learned there.
So that's another thing where it's I'm extremely lucky for the guys I grew up around, because well, to begin, it's like we were buying equipment on the way back, me and two of my training partners. So we had a trailer with us. So we pull up to the Elite FTS parking lot with a trailer behind us, already not inconspicuous at all.
Right?
And there's all these, West Side looking guys walking in that, mean mugging us and, whatever. And it's like, who the hell are these guys pulling up? And the guy I was meeting there, his name's Ilya. He's one of Clint Darden's training partners. He was running late, so he was like, yeah. He's like, Dave knows you're coming. He's like, just go ahead and go in. And it's like, fuck. It's like I've never met Dave before.
Legend.
So I was like, fuck it, let's just go in. And it's like I've heard Dave's voice in my ears, millions of times. But so we walk in, and of course he's like standing as far away on the other side of the gym as possible. And it's like to anybody that's grown up in a gym, it's like like it's a test. It's like you walk in, and it's like I could kind of stand in the corner and wait for Ilya to get there and not say anything. Or I could walk across the whole fucking gym and go up and shake his hand and introduce myself. And, of course that's what I did. But,
Good.
um,
Good parents raised you.
yeah, but it's it's like, that's one of the things that, again, that I think a lot of people lose in today's world is, how much that means. People will say that doesn't really mean much on paper. Well, it's not all about that. It's like that was a test. It's like whether he meant it to be one or not, the fact that I walked across there and shook his hand, it's like, okay, now we sit there and have a 20-minute conversation, rather than, I never talk to him. It's almost a form of disrespect, like you're walking in somebody's house, and not acknowledging them,
Sure.
But luckily with the guys I know, with Clint and Willie Wessels and those guys, Dave knows all those guys, so it gave me like a leg to stand on to kind of talk, and kind of form a conversation. But, training there was awesome, especially because, I mean, they don't really do a lot of strongman stuff there, but powerlifting is what I grew up around.
Mm-hmm.
Before strongman, there was powerlifting.
Yep.
So one of the guys that came with me, he's a big power lifter, multiply guy. Um, so it was just cool to go there, and he's got those chrome plates that actually he got rid of now. I believe he sold them.
Dang.
Yeah, so we literally got in right at the back half just to deadlift on those. Thankfully, and it was just surreal to kind of be in that place and be able to talk to Dave, and it was a training day for them as well. So it's just kind of cool to kind of hear the voice of people you hear all the time, right in front of your face.
Any big questions or discussion points you had with him? Or was just kind of just general and
Yeah, he was kind of putting his stuff on. I really didn't want to bother him too much,
sure.
and kind of, yeah, I didn't want to be the guy that's like annoying, because it's like, yes, I'm there because I want to train.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I'm a fan of Dave Tate's, but like
Sure.
he's also just a guy that wants to train.
Sure.
So it's like I'm not here to bother anybody.
I get it.
But yeah, I mean, it was kind of one of those things where it's like as we started, as you start training, and they're like, okay, these guys are kind of strong, or these guys are whatever. Then it's like, then the normal training talk happens and banter, and there's a little bit more of that where the it becomes a little bit more comfortable in there. Uh,
With that trailer, did you guys come home with a bunch of toys? Because boy, they have everything.
we didn't buy anything from Elite FTS actually. We there's this gym called Core Fitness in Mooresville.
That's about 12 minutes from my place.
Okay, so I'm on the way to Kokomo. I'm getting more equipment from there.
Yeah,
So
they're dumping everything.
well, that started with me because
Okay.
I originally he had the power stairs,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how it started. And then I bought all of his Hummer tire stuff that
Yep.
there's videos of Brian Shaw deadlifting on.
Sure.
I've bought a lot of equipment from him, from Aaron.
Aaron Mullen and then Derek
Yeah,
Devon.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I used to go there and train. I would train there like once or twice a year.
Oh dang.
Just because, again, I love training on old shit. I love
Yeah.
taking a trip, and I think that's the spirit of strongman. It's like I had buddies that live north of there or wherever, and it's like, hey, anybody that I could find within a 3-hour range, it's like, let's go here. Let's all train together. Let's compete, whatever. I think that's kind of the spirit of the strongman sport that's kind of been left behind.
Nice.
I think that's a good thing.
It's a good thing because again, my numbers for me were I was thrilled beyond compare for me. In the strongman world, it's very, very average. So humbly, like when I carried 305 a hand, there's a couple of strong guys in the gym that day, and they looked at me and kind of like, they just give me this, like They give us a little nod, and I'm like, bro, and it was 25 feet or 30 feet, and it was 15 or 20 seconds, and I'm like, that was 8 years. Right, that was 8 years to get there, and they're like, yeah, I know where you started and when you got there. So when you're around those other folks, they understand the journey that you must have gone through because no one gets there overnight.
Yeah, and that's something I was. So we went to Detroit where Chad lives, and we met up there. Bryce Johnson, he
Yep,
just took fifth at Strongest Man on Earth. 𝗬𝗏, he just nudged me out of the podium. He took second at North America as I took third. Bryce took first actually. So we met up there. You know, Trey Mitchell came. He's obviously been one of the
huge,
strongest men in the world for a long time. We had a big group that came up there and met. And I had a young kid. He had met us up there as well, and we're I think we were doing frame carry or something like that, and he is doing farmers off to the side, and I was kind of coaching him at the time, and I think his PR was maybe 300 pounds,
mm,
and so he did 300, and then he immediately jumped to 350,
whoa,
and couldn't break it off the ground, and like
sure,
knocked it over and like made himself kind of look like a fool a little bit. And I told him, I was like, hey man, I was like, these guys aren't even watching you. Like you're doing something like he's a younger kid, like he's trying to impress these people that he looks up to.
yeah,
But to your point of what you're saying, you're like these guys have been where you are, so you doing something right now, like you're not strong enough to do anything that could impress them. The only thing that could impress them is you doing the work that you need to do to eventually get to that level.
yes,
Doing something stupid and potentially hurting yourself. These people, there's nothing your body is capable of doing to make them even stop for a second and go, oh wow, that guy's strong.
right.
So it's you got to learn to run your own race, and doing what is best for you to get stronger, not what you think somebody else would be impressed by you doing.
That's huge. That's huge. Take yourself out of a strength sport. People will do that, ninth grader walking into the gym because some dude's watching or some girl's watching, or maybe
Hmm.
it's not even lifting. You're gonna, hey, hold my beer, watch this because you're trying to impress someone because your ego needs a little bit of help. And it's
Hmm.
like, man, just be comfortable. Easy to say, I'm 50. Just be comfortable that you're who you are and you are enough, and just keep getting better. Yourself on your own, and that is okay.
That's kind of been something that I've tried to adopt through strongman. Is I mean, a lot of people don't talk about the mental health aspect of it, but I get like severe anxiety and stuff like that going into a competition because you put so much work into these competitions, and it's like in these preps, and everybody's worst fear is you show up and you take last or whatever,
Yeah,
you embarrass yourself or whatever.
that's not embarrassing.
And yeah, well, there's something I've adopted where it's like you just do what you can do. I don't even
Yeah,
have to look at the scoreboard. Because if this guy just did it in 30 seconds, that's not going to change how fast I can do it.
right,
All it's going to do is probably make me go slower because I'm going to try to outrun myself and I'll fall.
right.
Or something like that. It's like just if you do what you can do, the points will shake out where they're supposed to, and it'll all. I mean, everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to in the end, regardless if you know what the last guy did.
You know, Lucas and I will get into this at a later podcast, but before we started, you asked about my seal swim a couple weeks ago.
Hmm.
And having been a strength athlete, I had about 15 different whys of why I was doing this swim. Patriotic, lead by example, lead my family, lead my gym, do something unusual, show that what we preach here, someone who's never swam in his life a strength athlete could be swimming across the Hudson River. And so it's 14 months of training 4+ days a week, getting a coach, learning all these things. And the day of the event, the conditions they were definitely beyond me, and they were beyond most of the participants. And I'm in there in the water, and I'm swimming, but I'm just getting killed. I'm swimming into this current, and at some point, I was like, you know what? I'm not I'm probably not making it all the way. I'm gonna need a little bit of help. And so I'm on the barge when we're done at one of the rest points, and I'm like, the director's like, "Hey, you going again?" I'm like, "This is beyond me." And he's like, "No, you're going." I'm like, "Hey, this is beyond me." And later he's like, "Hey, took a lot of courage to say that because one, you're surrounded by Navy SEALs of all fucking things, right? Two, I invested 14 months of my life in an identity, and I told people about this. But at the end of the day, it's you and your God and your family, and that you're the man in the arena. And a lot of people wouldn't even try it. And do I have some regrets? I'm like, wish that would have happened. Absolutely. But so many people are just sitting there watching or just not doing anything. And I'm like, to your point about running your own race, like at some point you're gonna die Why not just try? Why not try your best at something and see how it goes? And when you get beat, adjust and learn and then try again. And that's okay. And so many people don't. You talk about anxiety. Oh my God, I was terrified, terrified. But once you try some things, next time the anxiety is a little bit more manageable. It's not gone, manageable because you understand how to manage it.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, it's like you look at I mean, social media has just ruined all that stuff, because
Yes.
you see video. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen videos going into a contest where it's like, oh, this guy's gonna kill everybody. Like this guy looks so strong. This guy, whatever. This guy, that. And you show up and he fucking sucks.
Right.
It's like it's
Yes.
really easy to make yourself look good on your own stuff and
Yeah.
your own videos, or you're lying.
Yes.
Which is completely possible too. People just see these videos and they want to mimic it, or I got to chase this number or whatever. It's like, no, you don't. It's like if you're chasing to get exactly as much as you can out of your body,
Yes.
then if you show up and if you show up and you weren't strong enough, well, congratulations, you got work to do. If you show up and you are strong enough, then you can know the next time you can trust your own process.
Yes. Either way, you got work to do
Yeah.
because the next time there's something else to do, right?
Hmm.
And if you like make going back, I meant to circle back to this point. You said you like to make road trips to pick up cool things. Our frame at my gym is all Indiana barn wood. These timber frames that we
Uh-huh.
made. So the frame was all the wood is over 100 years old. We broke four different bits, just putting it together. And so it's 420 empty, which is cool if you smoke weed, right? But if you show up, man, it's one of the few pieces we have left, and it's a lot of fun, and it's loadable. So if you come on down, Bryce, who was in Indiana for a while, I think he played for the Cowboys at one point. Super tall, right? And
It's one of my
plus
good friends.
plus he married his wife is super tall also.
Yeah.
So I was talking to him about that because he was competing in Muncie, Indiana. And I go, "That's your wife?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Your kids are going to be outstanding athletes. You picked the right stock there." And
we
he was laughing
uh,
about that.
on the way to Quebec from Montreal this year to go to North America, as me and Bryce were riding together. And so it's me, Bryce, and his wife. They're shuttling us to the hotel, and we stop at this place to eat while we're there. And we walk in, and it's like I legitimately felt like I was their fucking kid.
Right.
you
Because the
know?
wife is like 6'1". She's
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. She might be a little bit taller than that, and she was wearing the fucking Hoka shoes that have the big sole on them.
right, right, yeah.
It's like I was like, I can't slouch, or I'm gonna, I gotta stand up straight.
Yeah, because Bryce is like 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah,
I
he's
remember
probably
asking,
about 6'7" probably.
yeah, enormous.
Yeah.
And he came from a small school, and he's trying to make the Cowboys. And I asked him about that. He goes, "These linemen that have been here for 4 or 5 years, they're just stronger. They've been in the league longer." I go, "Hey, what do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, like this 300 per hand frame carry or 600 frame carry. They would do that in their warm ups, and they'd absolutely be able to handle it." And that tells you the level of strength that was just the standard that he was used to. And then him and his wife are going to have these awesome kids.
Yeah, talking about your frame, actually, so the frame I have is a Big Dog Strong,
Nice.
and that's 540 empty. So it's kind of funny, actually. So like most of my gym is power lifters, and we
Hmm.
kind of have our like our own side to the gym. But there's
Right.
been multiple of them that have like tried to come over and use it, and they can't even pick it up. Which is like also like I kind of like that. It's like if you're strong enough to pick it up, you probably know how to use it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But actually, that's where I'm going. I'm going to pick up a matching one for it. So I have two
Wow.
for no reason, I guess.
The strongman, like me included, we did like our toys, and
Yeah.
like our Hercules hold was, we I got these fabricators. We made it ourselves,
Hmm.
and we could load up a ton of weight, and it was super fun, super fun about that.
Yeah, Hercules Hold is actually at North America's this year. I was in first place through 6 events, and it was 8 events,
Yep.
and the seventh event was a Hercules Hold,
Hmm.
and I took third to last, and Bryce was in second place at the time, and I think he might have won the event or took second in the event. And skyrocket. It's like then I was like, I think going into the last event, it was a three-way tie for second place, and Bryce was ahead in first place by probably 5 points after the Hercules hold. But his hands, I mean, they're like the size of like a personal pizza. They're fucking huge.
When I shook his hands, his fingers wrapped around and touched, and I was like,
Yeah,
this is so emasculating. Like I'm six
yeah,
three, and I'm like, no, no,
Yeah,
Not
there's
good.
like the guys always talk about like their like welcome to the NFL moment.
Right.
You know, there's the welcome to the NFL moment. There's the welcome to pro strongman moment. You know, and you just see crazy shit. You know.
One of the guys I've always liked, and my only contact with him is Dr. Todd McDougal and then Chad Coy. Is I always wanted to meet Mark Felix.
Uh-huh.
Um, his grip strength is like legendary. He's
Right.
winning the Hercules hold, any kind of like Denny Stone, and he was just like an animal at holding things, and that's so barbaric from back in the day. I also thought it'd be cool to meet Mark and just talk to him about just that one component alone. I thought would be interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned before, like we talked offline weeks ago, and you talked about the mental side of strongmen and or just athletes alone. Like Lucas can talk to this. Whether you're an amateur at the lowest level like I was, or you guys at higher levels, people are still, to your words, shitting themselves in their hotel rooms the night before. They're up all night. Talk about how you guys, we'll go Nick and then Lucas, how do you handle the anxiety day of and leading up to it?
So how I typically do, at least the last 3 or 4, is I don't know if you're familiar with the band Tool or not, but
Yeah.
there's an album called inoculum
Okay.
that it's not a lot of people's jam, but I will legitimately stand in the shower with the lights off for like 30 to 45 minutes and just listen to Tool. It just like gives it at a certain point it makes me turn my mind off, and it's like it's kind of one of those things where it's like I go in full of anxiety, full of thinking about what I could do, what I can't do, and it's like whenever you come out, it's like it doesn't matter how you feel because you're here now.
Yeah.
So it's like you can either be full of anxiety and mess yourself up, or you can, so I basically just try to like wash it away, fully relax myself, and it's like whenever you step out, it's go time, and whatever it is, it's going to be what it's going to be.
We had John Diggs on, and he's a former NFL guy and mindset coach. And he says, that feeling is not necessarily anxiety, what he would say. He goes, let's just call it excitement about what's to happen. And he just simply reframed that. He goes, hey, maybe that feeling is excitement. Maybe it's not anxiety. But you're about to do something hard that you trained for. Let's be excited about it. And so he mentioned that to me, and I tried to reframe my mindset before I'm about to jump off a bridge into the Hudson River. How about you, Luke? Game day, and then you're coaching kids that are teenagers. So they go through the same things. What do you tell them, or how did you handle anxiety, things like that?
Yeah, for me, exa handling anxiety, excitement, I've always been a really good listener, so I just listen to my coach. And for me, I don't have a whole lot of crazy rituals or anything that I follow. Getting ready for the Arnold this past year. I got there a couple days early so I could train and get comfortable and kind of have my days laid out. I'm gonna go here and train, and my coach is gonna be here, so my coach gives me my plan, and that takes a lot of stuff off my back. Honestly, allows me to kind of just go out and weightlift. Whenever I was doing my bodybuilding competitions and whatnot, again it was just listening to my coach. As for someone that likes to rely on a coach, paying a coach and talking to the coach and spending time with them, also part of my philosophy as a coach is you got to take some of the burden off. I feel like that's part of your responsibility is to make sure your guys are ready. Or, same thing when I work with the kids at the high school. Part of my responsibility is to take some of that anxiety away from them and try to, with high school kids, instill some confidence. Find ways to make them feel more confident or better about themselves so that they are excited to train for whatever reason it may be. And so, kind
That's
of putting it
huge.
back on the coach, making them earn their money and making them be a coach, make me feel better about this competition, so other than that, it's just, like I said, I don't even really listen to music, when we were doing at the Arnold gym, like I didn't have my AirPods in or anything like that. I was just sitting there hanging out, talking to my coach. Okay, it's
Yeah.
time to
Oh,
get my warm up sets in, get ready to go.
That's something that's kind of funny too, is like how different people do different things. It's like, for me personally, it's like I almost feel the most comfortable when I'm by myself. Like I don't need my coach there. I don't need my nutritionist there. I don't need anybody there. But same, like I tell my wife all the time, 'cause she tries to come to competitions when she can, but she's busy with work, and I obviously I understand. Luckily, with my job, I am granted the ability to be able to take off and go compete when I want to. Uh, but I tell people, it's like, especially with my wife being there, like that adds a level of, like, as men, you can understand, if your wife's there, there's a portion of your brain that is always curious where she's at and what's going on and if she's good, and it's like, and
Yep.
if there's not, then you're not what I would consider a man, and there's adding people to the mix just adds things to my head where I'm thinking about who's there, what are they doing? Do I need to be with them or whatever? And it's, if I'm just by myself, I know that, the only person I got to worry about is me. And the only person I have to worry about talking to is no one, myself in my own head. And I feel like that is what helps relax me.
Here's what I think is huge here is that coaches will get it in their head that, hey, I have a single way and this is how it must be. So with Lucas just says, hey, I like my coach there making the calls. And when I would do powerlifting, like even though I'm a powerlifting coach, a strongman coach, a strength coach, a CrossFit coach, my wife and I and a couple others on our team were doing a meet at my gym. I brought down another colleague, another strength coach at another gym that I had a lot of respect for. I said, hey, I want you to handle me today and make the calls so I don't have to think. So that worked well. But here's the thing. Coaches will say, hey, it's got to be done this way, and this is, we're not going to adapt. And whereas Nick just said, hey, if I can talk to my coach before the contest and he doesn't need to be there, my wife doesn't need to be there, that works optimally best for him. And so what I say, the best plan is the one that you can stick to. So the point about the coach athlete relationship is you have to look for what's optimal, put aside your ego and figure out what's best for that athlete. Lucas likes his coach there. I did too. You might say, hey, I don't need a coach there. In fact, I hope my wife isn't there. Where other people are like, man, I hope my wife's there. I just feel, a sense of like support that way. Whatever. But ask the question, what's going to be best for you on game day? Figure that out and then execute.
One thing I really liked, and I got this from you actually, Jim. If your coach tells you you got more, put more weight on the bar, and putting trust in your coach to say, hey, maybe that's probably too much weight. For me, especially on competitions, I like my coach to say, hey, let's shoot for this number instead of maybe not this number. And that kind of tells me, okay, that's probably right. Sometimes it's, well, if you feel good, go for it. That kind of gives
Kind of
me,
an unbiased party.
say what?
Kind of an unbiased party, maybe take the emotion out of the decision.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I don't have to think so much. If my coach believes I can
Yeah.
hit it, then the only thing I have to do is go out there and lift
Yeah.
it instead of arguing with myself and saying, well, can I get it? Can I not get it? Well, hey,
Yeah.
your last one moved well. Do the same thing with this one. And that helps me out tremendously.
Also, I mean, a lot of people too aren't blessed with, you talk about teammates. A lot of people aren't blessed with great training partners.
Right.
I've had the luxury of, I mean, the same guy that I trained with in high school for football is the same guy that I train with now.
So rare. So rare.
Luckily, he's not as much of a fat fuck as he used to be. So he's a 231 guy now. He's a middleweight. His name's Connor, but I mean, he's legitimately a top 10 middleweight in the world. And he's come into that. And it's like that turned into now having somebody that can push me in. Obviously not in peak weight things, but there's somebody that can push me with that intensity. And at the same time, because we train how basically my dad taught us how to, for at least mentality wise, it's like everything we do the hardest way we can think of. It's like my Finkel's finger, for example, the hole for the finger is probably about this big, but the bolt's only this big. So whenever you're pushing it up, it's rocking side to side.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so hard. It's so much harder than the normal. Like the two I did at North Americas this year were lighter than that, 100%. But it's like if I can flip that in training, then I'm good. Like that's how we try to do everything.
We had Jeff Saturday on. He was the longtime center for the Colts.
Yeah.
And I asked him the same question about dealing with game day anxiety. He goes, I had none. And I'm like, none? Why? He goes, we begged, because he played offense, the D coordinator to throw so much shit at us that was not scripted, so that we were so over prepared that we weren't nervous about any kind of nuance. And your whole point about making the implement harder than it normally would be helps you do that. Now, me overdoing that seal swim, I wasn't ready for the current because I live in Indiana, but I'm swimming in these lakes, and my poor wife, who was so good to me, she's on a paddleboard, and she takes the oar, and she's trying to hit me with the oar a little bit, or she's just throwing this water at me, trying to like make me. So when I turn my face to breathe, she's throwing water at me to make me kind of like drown a little bit, you know. And I'm like, and the first time I did, I was like, "Hey, motherfucker!" And she goes, "I'm helping you." And I'm like, "Okay, okay, I love you, sweetie. Let's keep going." And so to your point, if you make it harder, then your mind earned the confidence because you had a harder rep. If you just squatted 135, you're not going to have any confidence squatting 495, right? So that's huge. A lot of people that say, "Well, we'll just rise at a challenge on game day. I'll be a gamer." I'm like, no, you will default to your level of training. You will only do what you can do. Where is strongman going? Because you talk about core fitness, they're shutting down all their strongman stuff. My stuff is mostly gone. You have USS and strongman core, and then there's different. Now you can go the Arnold route, or you can go World's Strongest Man route, but now OSG is a huge thing. And so there's all these different, not necessarily factions or federations, but in your opinion, the next 10 years, where do you think the sport is going?
I know from at least a weight class perspective, I think Pro Strongman League (PSL). I think that's a very good route. I'm actually I'm going to be I'm working on putting on a show with them this year, and that's something I try to do. I mean, even though I'm still competing, I want to try to give back to the sport and try to put shows on and do them the way that I know they should be, because I see way too many shows that it basically looks like CrossFit, or nobody wants to lift heavy weights anymore. If they can't do it for 10 reps, they don't want to do it. I think that's so bullshit. It's the show's supposed to be heavy. I put on an amateur local show last year, and I had people telling me they weren't signing up because it was too heavy. It's like,
Right,
this is fucking strongman. Like, what it sounds like, the show's not too heavy, you're too fucking weak.
right.
And so I'm trying to help push that forward in my own way. I do think USS has brought a crazy amount of new people to the sport.
Yep.
And there's some people that want to talk shit on, uh, I guess, mass production of strongman. Because that's kind of almost what it seems a little bit. Where it's before, it was like it was such a small group of people that would do strongman, and it was kind of like a clique you had to break into. Where now it's like you can go to any, local gym, and they'll probably have some strongman stuff, and you'll look up and there'll be a USS gym,
Sure.
So I think it's the same thing with like playing football, like if fantasy football wasn't a thing, I'm sure there'd be less fans that would watch the NFL.
Sure.
It's the same thing. Like, not everybody that's a fan of World's Strongest Man is a World's Strongest Man competitor, because if there was, World's Strongest Man wouldn't be a thing. So I think that's definitely helped the sport a lot. And I think the more federations, I don't think is necessarily a problem, because you can compete wherever you want to compete, and OSG is kind of above that USS level.
Yep. Couple things. One, any high level athlete started off as some 5-year-old playing pee wee, whatever, soccer, lacrosse, football, swimming. So they have decades of funneling through the sport to weed out folks. Should have something very, very similar in strongman. Like, so someone says, "Well, I'm just only doing one contest a year." I'm like, "Well, you don't really learn how to compete doing it once a year. If you're early on in your career, 3 or 4 contests, you're just trying to figure out how do you handle things on game day. So having different levels where weights are heavy and then heavier and then heavy, like, that's okay. You still need to have some way to groom the athletes in the sport and then funnel them out. If it's all Brian Shaw level weight, well, not everyone's pulling 1,100 pounds, right? So then now you got 7 people on the planet, and fuck, that's not really a thing, right? Not so. Yeah, you kind of need to have that. Also, I think with CrossFit being so broad, it launched a lot more interest in weightlifting. It launched a lot more interest in powerlifting, gymnastics, and strongman as well. And we see the CrossFit Games doing yoke carry, farmer carry, medley. It just shows, hey, there's other things. No one wakes up and says, "Hey, I want to be a rower." No one wakes up and says, I want to snatch. They're doing some other sport specifically, right? Now you have some more exposure, which shows some people how to do some other things, which show other people how to lift. something heavy.
Yeah.
How's that a bad thing? It's got to be cool.
Well, it's kind of a dichotomy too of like because it's on one hand, stuff like that, like the lower level strongman, I think has been great for the sport, but back what I was saying, kind of like back in the day when it was all more of a clique, you kind of had to break into.
Yep.
Well, there was so much less competitions that happened
Sure.
that, the weights were heavier because there was fewer. So there's more, the guys that are strong are going you're going to see these same people everywhere.
Yep.
Now it's like there's 5 competitions in Missouri on a weekend,
Mm.
so it's like you're going to see a lot of these shows with lighter weight. And I think that, but then, these people get funneled into a nationals type of thing, and they're probably not ready
Right.
because the nationals is going to be a little bit heavier, but they only wanted to sign up for the shows that are really light because they don't know, or they don't want to really push themselves to see how strong they can get. And, that's not everybody's shtick, and that's fine. But I think that there's that level of, it is strongman, not CrossFit, or, um, it's not just general fitness. Like if you're
Right.
wanting to do this and wanting in your mind to reach a top level, you need to be prepared to get as strong as you can be and not be afraid to sign up into those deep waters and something that maybe you don't think you're ready for.
So what I would, as the promoter, and I'm a big dork, I'm a big math guy. I was just telling Lucas, what I would tell people, if you're doing my contest and it's a lower level contest and you're doing the open category, I'm going to show you the math. That, hey, the numbers of the lifts that you're doing and people in years past, if you win my contest, you will perform well. You will hold you will hold your own at nationals. Will you win it or not? It depends. Now, if you're in a novice group, it's going to be much more inviting because I want to groom the future of the sport. But I will tell you, if you're in the open and you hit these numbers at these times or whatever, you're going to be just fine. You don't have to worry. But if you're getting smashed here and you're eighth out of 10 in my contest in the open, don't bother going to nationals in some other contest. You're just gonna get your ass beat unless you wanted to say, hey, I went to nationals, got the T-shirt, and that's cool. Yep. For you, what I find, not for you, for a lot of athletes, they'll have things that they're better at, right? And you said you have smaller hands, so maybe some grip things. So I would divide it into, hey, are you a static strength guy, or are you more dynamic? Are you a medley guy where you're doing moving objects? When I watch Brian Shaw, and this is me, amateur, he would kill the static things, but in the moving events, he wouldn't score as well. And now in the sport, you have to definitely do both, right? So for you, Nick, what's your favorite? You like the static strength stuff? Do you like the moving events, or you like both?
Uh, I'm definitely better at moving events, just because I just need a few more years to get my static strength to be kind of where it needs to be. I mean, my press is closer than my deadlift. It's at the top level now. I mean, if you're not pulling mid 900s, or at least 900 any day that you kind of want to, then you're probably not going to be in that top 10 type of guys. It's like as it stands right now, it's like I could probably pull like 850, 880, somewhere in that number. Um, but that just doesn't cut the cheese, So it's, it's like I can pick up points, but the medleys I think are kind of what I enjoy because I think I kind of surprise people a little bit because I'm not the guy that, I'm not 315 and fast and whatever, but I move well under weight. I think again because I've been heavy my whole life, so having the extra body weight doesn't bother me. I've had to learn to run heavy, and I think I can support my core is very strong. I think that's the strongest thing on my body. Like when it comes to yokes, that's a moving event, but I can do it really fast because I think my core is really strong.
Yep. When I had 𝗬𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀 coaching
Hmm.
me remotely. He's out of California, just a legend
Yeah,
in the sport. And you want to talk about hands? That dude's
yeah,
grip strength is stupid. And so a part that I was completely missing was on the speed days. I know conjugate and doing your speed work, but man, he had me running some sprints in between these movement events, and I was like, shit. And he goes, yeah, you got to be able to be fast under duress. And so it was a piece that was really, really, really pretty helpful. And to your point about, hey, I need a few more years to get stronger. If you're an 850 deadlifter, to get you to 950, that doesn't happen in the next 6 months. No one puts 100 pounds on their deadlift in 6 months. It takes time of being consistent and growing all your accessories all the way up, and being patient.
so
Now, all Chad Coy gave us was that he competed against your dad, and we've had other guests on the show that are referrals by Chad. And I call him and I say, hey, can you give me some dirt on Nick and these other guests? And he never does. So the way we reward Chad is we come up with dirt on him and we put it on the show, and we're like, hey Chad, so there's a video of him like screwing around in a wheelchair, over at 𝗬𝗏, and so you got a story about Chad?
Oh, I got to think of one I can share.
Don't hold back, man. It's not there's not like a NC-17 rating on this thing.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I mean, me and Chad, we went to Worlds together in 2023. And we've taken a lot of trips together. We went to the Arnold together. Um, we always have a good time. It's typically just a lot of talking shit. And that's the kind of thing, you might know that too with Chad, is like if you're around him, like if you're talking to him on the phone, it's almost like you get like business Chad a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yep.
because he's probably in the middle of working, so he is talking to you as if he's working.
Yep.
But if you're with him, in person, he's definitely a lot funnier, and that meathead kind of comes out a little bit.
Sure.
So I think that's the biggest thing, is kind of getting that meathead to come out. Actually, I got a funny story. So we were at Worlds in 23. We went to this gym that was on site, or that was close, and he can't compete anymore with me at like top level weights, but he always tries to play the mental game. So we were doing a belt squat, and he does, I think, like 50 reps or something. And I called him old and said that he was, washed up or whatever like that. And he was like, okay, fine. Then he's like, I'm going to do another set. So he does double his age. So at that time he was 54. So he did 108 reps. And I think at this point I know that he's fucking riled up,
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, well, you couldn't do that again, So he ends up doing like 300 reps on this belt squat, and Nick Best was there as well. He does like 300 reps on this belt squat. He's literally like dry heaving and crying, like every emotion is coming out of him. He's on this fucking belt squat, and like everybody at the gym at this point is like stopping and staring at this, like making like an ass of himself pretty much, only because I was talking shit. And it's like he was doing it as if to like beat me. I was never getting on the leg press or never getting on the belt squat to begin with. It's like I just wanted to see how many reps I could get him to do. And whenever it comes to a mental game, Chad will die before he loses.
That's like, being in the fraternity and someone says, hey, I bet you won't shotgun this beer. And I'm saying, I'm good, bro. I'm not going to do it. And then they'll go, all right, BB, you're a pussy. The
Yeah.
next thing you know, you're shotgunning a beer. So you call Chad out on any of those little things. And he's
Yeah.
like, all right, motherfucker. And it's
Yeah.
like he'll walk in front of a car just so
Yeah.
he can beat you.
I think Chad's tried to call me out in a fist fight at least 3 times.
Like, why? Like, and he's your coach.
Every time I'm like, look, man, it's like it's either I beat up an old man or I got my ass kicked by an old man.
So there's
It's
no
like,
no win there.
There's no point.
Oh man, when I first met him, he's walking in my gym, and we talked about doing some work together. And what I noticed is that his ears connected to the sides of his delts. It goes right from here to there. I'm like, bro, this is what's walking in. I'm like, come on, man, your traps are just enormous. And from that point on, we just got along great. Good dude. What's next on the docket for you in 25 and 26?
Competing Strongman Champions League USA in Toledo and Sandusky, Ohio.
Ooh, I'm from Ohio.
Yeah, so it'll be a 2-day show. Day 1 in Toledo, day 2 in Sandusky. So
Wow.
they're releasing the roster, I think tomorrow maybe.
Are you going by Cedar Point?
I'm not sure. They said we're going to be shooting some type. We have to get there on Wednesday to shoot a bunch of TV stuff, because Strongman Champions League is a TV show in Europe.
Nice.
So we have to shoot a bunch of stuff for that. But as of now, I mean, 𝗬𝗏 is in November. I'm signed up for 𝗬𝗏. It's basically going to kind of see how Champions League goes, and maybe I can get into a couple more of those shows this year. We'll see. Honestly, what I'm truly excited to do is I just want to take some time at the end of this year and just focus on actually getting stronger. Because I think a lot of these guys that are kind of in my level of pro status, they kind of get caught in this loop of competing at these shows where if you podium or if you win, you qualify for Worlds or you qualify for the strongest man on earth. And it's like they're afraid to not do the show because somebody else will earn that spot.
Mm,
But it's
gotcha.
like if you consistently go and you consistently don't podium, then you're not getting the spot anyways because you're not taking the time to get stronger.
Right.
And then if you do miraculously find yourself into that next level, are you strong enough? Or if you would have taken a year and focused on getting stronger and then gotten there, maybe you're there to stay for a little bit.
What I found when I was doing contest prep, I was just constantly doing contest prep. And if I'm doing 3 or 4 contests, then it's like I'm constantly doing that. I'm not doing the little things. I'm not just building my raw strength so I can then do better contest prep. I'm just constantly doing the events. So it's kind of like, do you take some time off here or not? So it's a bit of a strategy game you got to play.
Yeah, before I don't want to say like pro scene, but before I started doing pro competitions, I mean, I probably only competed once or twice for at least a year and a half, because I was just only focused on getting stronger because I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew that I wasn't going to get that by just competing every 3 months.
Yep. I think if we had kids on the show and they're watching, I would say, hey, if you're a freshman in college, think about the next 2 years of just building a base of knowledge, speed, strength, being great at your craft, and then cracking the starting lineup. A lot of people are like, hey, I need to start now. If not, I'm going to enter the portal. I'm like, take the Archie Manning approach, who's a quarterback for Texas, where, hey, I'm going to sit for a couple years and learn. To your point, I'm going to sit here and learn and get stronger for a couple years before I actually want to be in the fire. Now, you mentioned you like Tool right before contest and getting your mind right. When you're just lifting normally, what do you like to listen to?
Typically, anything pretty heavy. I listen to a lot of, again, kind of just stuff that was listened to whenever I was growing up. Like a lot of old Disturbed, and
Right?
Rammstein is one of my favorite bands. Stuff like that. I don't really like all the music that people listen to. Like, just sounds like squealing, and you don't know what they're saying. I don't really like that. But anything with a heavy guitar and stuff like that. I mean, maybe rap if it's nice outside, bay doors open. It's like 75 degrees. Some rap is nice every once in a while.
There you go. No, you said you're married. What's a non-competitive bucket list adventure for you and your wife you would like to do?
Oh, take the time to. We did it last year actually for our honeymoon, and it's. I want to do it for not a honeymoon, just to do it, to just take time to, you know, take a trip, and I don't have to focus on. I need to train here. I need to train there. Whatever else, just take time to be present and just be quote unquote normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, she's the same way. Whenever she came to OSG last year when I was competing, and actually Chad loves her because of this. Chad stayed with us as well, and every morning at 4 a.m. she got up to work out. Drove 30 minutes to a gym and worked out, and so she's the same way. So I think if we can both go somewhere and just like, hey, we're gonna take 4 or 5 days, and we're gonna eat what we want. We're gonna, no, we're not gonna train. We're just gonna relax. I don't know how well that'll work, but that would be the goal.
You mentioned eating and you're in St. Louis. What's your favorite restaurant or food there?
Ooh, man, I'm a big quantity over quality guy. uh, yeah, I mean, anywhere I can go to get a good steak, for sure. There's this place called Tubby's that's actually like a bar attached to a bowling alley that you can get a ribeye steak for. It's like probably like a 14-ounce steak for like $18 with the two sides and everything, and nobody would really go there because it's just a bowling alley, but it's pretty good.
Awesome. What's a favorite sports movie?
Unorthodox pick, but I think I'm gonna go Goon.
Oh, from hockey.
Yeah,
The dude's hysterical,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I like that because that's, to me, like that's like the mindset of that movie. I like a lot.
Yeah, it's just no off switch when a kid's playing. It's
I
just
mean,
go
yeah, it's a comedy movie, but at the same time, there's some serious aspects to it.
for sure. Uh, Favorite sport to watch?
Tell you what, man, the only sport I really watch is strongman. Like if there's football on, I mean, I played football my whole life. It's like I'll watch it if it's on, but I don't really care to pay
Right.
attention to it. Um, but pretty much every day I'm watching some old strongman video. It'll be Group One, Heat Three from World's Strongest Man in 2004. It's like, why are you even watching that? It's like, I don't know, but it's just interesting to
It's
me.
just cool. Favorite athlete to watch?
Hmm. Man, that's hard. Like you can kind of go the Brian Shaw route or the strongman route for a guy like Brian Shaw or Eddie Hall, or who I really liked watching was James Harrison. I think James Harrison was a freak. Brian Cushing.
Oh, so Jim Harrison, the football player for the Steelers, and Brian,
Yeah,
the
it's Brian
linebacker
Cushing,
for
linebacker for the
Texas.
Texans.
Yeah, Texans.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, guys like that. It's just like, yeah. There's that video of Brian Cushing where he takes his helmet off and he headbutts that dude with no helmet on and he's fucking bleeding.
It was against the Browns, and I'm from Cleveland, so I know
Yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
huge.
Guys like that. Yeah, I love watching guys like that.
Did you watch there was a little documentary slash comedy. I don't know. It was real. It was four guys. It was on the History Channel. It was Brian Shaw, Nick Best, and Eddie. Did you watch that series?
Yeah,
Yeah, pretty
yeah, I've
fun.
seen it.
Um, I really just love that how they were seeming like authentic
Yeah,
and real.
yeah.
Um,
I've had the luxury of meeting all those guys, and they're uh, so it kind of adds a level of coolness to it,
sure.
you know. And yeah, I mean they're all like that's legitimately how they are,
Yeah. We had Nick on the show. He told a great story of how a missed bench press saved his life
Hmm.
because it fell out
Yeah,
of his fell. Have you heard that story?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, pretty good stuff. You have a, I don't know, do you have a book for us that you like, you recommend?
Well, I'm pretty white trash and a blue collar guy, so I don't do too much reading.
All right.
I did listen to some audiobooks.
Okay.
Um, I haven't I've been out of audiobooks for a little while, but one book I really liked was I'm trying to think of the exact name of it. The Discipline Equals Freedom.
That's
Jocko
Jocko.
Willink.
Jocko,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good one.
yeah, I love Jocko.
How about in either real world or it could be fiction, could be movies, could be books, whatever. Favorite hero and villain?
Favorite hero has to be the Hulk. I have young memories of my dad. I remember him saying it all the time. He's like, I don't even give a fuck if I have to be green. He's like, I'll look like the Hulk. I don't care.
My
uh,
dad would have us watching the old Lou Ferrigno Hulk, and then
uh,
he would say, "Hey Jim, this guy's a pro bodybuilder in real life." And I go, "Wait, this is a real person?" I'm like,
right.
he's like, "Yeah," and we would look. I'm like, he was just massive, and it was
Yeah.
super cool to watch,
Yeah. I think honestly, one of my favorite villain might be Bane from Batman.
right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have two questions here. So on the typical bodybuilding, barbell, powerlifting, overhead press, whatever. Do you have what's your favorite lift there, and then what's your favorite strongman lift or event?
Uh, I think Axel Clean and Press. That's
Okay.
my favorite, which is a super unpopular opinion. I'm better at it than log for sure. I'd love for a reason to push that. Um, that's kind of it's sitting in the lower 400s, same as log, but I'd really like to push that into the mid 400s for a reason too. But nobody puts max axle press in shows anymore.
Mm.
Um,
That was probably my
go ahead.
least favorite lift. I'm like to catch it and inch it up on my belly in an arch back. I'm like, this is stupid. But
Yeah,
whatever. It's what we do. So remember, we pick up dumb shit, and
yeah.
I signed up for it. So I'm like, all right, that's what we're doing.
Another event I love tire flip, and nobody wants to bring a fucking tire flip anywhere. Everybody bitches about it, but I think it's cool. I think it's old. I mean, yeah, you might get hurt, but you might get hurt doing anything. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
man, we done a number of events with tire flips. We had them
Yeah,
from 300 pounds all the way to like 850 for reps. Is awesome
yeah.
time.
Least favorite is anything grip related since my grip sucks.
Can you do a
What's
phone?
funny is I love training grip. Like I love doing like, rolling thunders or plate pinches or whatever, but it's, I don't know. I just suck at it.
Can you do a phone book?
I've never tried.
Deck of cards?
Never tried. The only grip stuff I can really say I've done is like the Ivanko plates. I've hubbed two of them at the same time.
Huge. That's
And
awesome.
like the standard deep dish 45s, put those face in and pinch them. I've done that.
Can you roll a frying pan?
I've rolled a frying pan, yeah.
So those are all like classic old school
Actually, a super cool
events.
story. Whenever I was probably 8 or 9 years old, my dad went and judged a contest in Iowa, and Bill Kazmaier was there,
Oh wow.
and he was a judge with Bill Kazmaier, and they rolled frying pans together. And this contest was at this YMCA, and my dad's grip was bad too. We had the same hands,
Mm.
It's like everything he was good at, I'm good at. Everything he was bad at, I'm bad at. And but so he was a little nervous, but they both rolled the frying pans together and signed him, and they're still in that YMCA.
Oh, that's neat. Do you have
Yeah.
a quote for us?
I
And if not,
think I
it's all
had
right.
one. I think I had one written down. I don't know. I try not to think of too many quotes. I guess I think that I kind of like more like mottos,
Me
and
too.
I think the biggest one is just train as hard as you can. Do things the hardest way. If something feels easy, it's probably because it is, and it's not making you better.
Yeah.
It's like it's really easy to just kind of mimic things the way you want to and in your perfect scenario. And I think people can learn a lot. And that's not just strength sports related. There's a lot of things in life, like, when you're taking the easy route, and the easy route is never the one that's going to benefit you the most.
I would have these kids that are in high school, they're getting ready to go to college to play a sport, and I'm coaching them. And I'm like, hey, when I'm dead and gone, or in 3 years, and you're playing for whoever,
Mhm.
and whether you're starting or you're not starting, you're gonna know. You're gonna be in the mirror one day in your bathroom. You're gonna know that you either put in the work and all the little things, all the bullshit I tell you to do, or you didn't do it, and you are where you are because you deserve every bit of it. And so if you're always just trying to make things easier, you're gonna know, and you're gonna have to know that, hey, you know what? Damn it, I wasted a whole bunch of time. Um, where can we find you online?
Uh, Instagram, I'm just Nick_Wortham. I don't really have any other social media other than Instagram. I mean, I have my personal Facebook, but I don't really do
Sure.
too much strongman stuff on there.
Okay.
The one, actually, I thought of a quote while you were talking.
All right.
Have you ever seen the movie Kingdom of Heaven?
No.
So it's a movie about basically they're trying to protect Jerusalem, and it's like the collapse of Jerusalem.
Okay.
And there's a quote from this guy named King Baldwin. He's the leper king, and I'll paraphrase it, but the gist of the quote is he says, these people that play you, whether they're men of power or kings or whoever they may be in this lifetime, your soul is your keeping alone. So
Yes.
if it's somebody, it could be President Trump or whoever. If they want you to do something, it's like you got to answer to God, just you and God.
Yes.
I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're bigger than me. You know, do the right thing when nobody's around. It doesn't matter who's telling you to do what, because what you do is between you and God, and that's all. That's the only thing that matters.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Uh, Nick, hold on. Hang on here after we're done. I want to talk to you about a couple other things, but really enjoyed having you on today. And for those that want to get a hold of us down the road, you could email us info@athlete-builder.com. What's really cool about this episode that launches next week, Nick, is that you are our 100th episode. So we're coming right. 104 will be 2 straight years without missing a week, and so we have you on for number 100, and we were lucky to have you on. Thanks to Chad for shout out to him for hooking us up, and learned a lot today. But honestly, I had a good time just shooting the shit and learning about you. So best of luck. Keep
Thank you
at
very
it.
much.
Keep fighting a good fight, man. And thank you for the gift of your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys.
All right, we'll see you.
See ya.